Hello everyone, have a nice day. Thank you Dominique for this incredible story. Enjoy listening. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel.
A healthy dose of humor. Every survival kit should have a sense of humor. There is an expression, lead or follow, get out of the way or step back. My motto was a little different, step back and stay out of the way. I lead you and you follow me. I only had two speeds, full speed ahead and sleep. My health never failed me. No extra weight, all my teeth and hair were in place, and I always looked younger than my years. There was no I can't in my vocabulary, and I always remained optimistic. I had a beautiful wife, wonderful children, a rich home and a good income. One day I discovered a small lump on the right side of my neck. I thought it was just some kind of inflammation. My doctor had a different opinion. He looked into my mouth and turned pale. I don't wish anyone to see that kind of reaction from a doctor during an examination. "What is it?" I asked. "Do you really want to know?" He answered. "Damn right I wanted to know." "It looks like cancer of the right tonsil," he said. "I'm going to cut off a piece for a biopsy," he continued, and he tore something off the inside of my throat that made me bleed profusely. At that moment I was not thinking about cancer, but about choking on my own blood. I didn't have any pain and I looked perfectly healthy. I played golf and cut the grass on the front lawn every week. I worked and didn't get tired. I didn't smoke, I exercised, and I ate well. Maybe the doctor was wrong. A few days later he called me back. Alas, it was cancer. "What should I do now?" I asked. The doctor replied that I should go and see an oncologist. There was an oncologist among the congregation at the church I went to. I called him, and he made an appointment to see me. I sat in his waiting room with my wife Debbie and my son Grant and looked at the paintings and sculptures that decorated the room. I remember thinking at the time that cancer treatment was a lucrative occupation. Then we were ushered into the office of Dr. Kirby Smith, who shook hands with us and invited us to sit down. He put his foot down, pulled out a piece of paper, and began talking to us as if he had never had another patient that day. Then he told me in detail what to expect and added, "Nick, don't lose your sense of humor and positive attitude about life. That will help you get through everything." Then, when I was really struggling, I remembered Dr. Smith's prayers and advice. I was sure that God would help me. Every morning 5 days a week for 7 weeks I was treated with radiation. During the procedure, which took 30 minutes, my head was strapped to a table so that I could not move it. A device I called the Batman fairing was put on my head. It was a white nylon mesh woven to the size of my head, face, and shoulders. Bolts sewn into the fabric were bolted to the table. Around it moved a device, from which a directed stream of radiation flowed. For the entire half hour of the procedure, I prayed. Sometimes people ask me if there are any side effects. I answer that there are still side effects. When I go to the toilet at night, I don't have to turn on the light, because I glow myself. For 7 weeks I had chemotherapy every Wednesday. The procedure took a good half day, and during that time I sat, covered with a soft blanket, in a comfortable leather chair. The solution, which is injected into the vein, affects a person in the following way. One wants to sleep, becomes cold and often wants to go to the toilet. There was only one toilet for a large room with many patients, and there was often a line of people with portable fours lined up in front of the door. Each of us was connected for a long time with an four, which we had to carry behind us. I was warned that sooner or later I would have to put in an artificial feeding tube. Oh, my God, I thought. Just what I needed. My appetite has always been fine. But if my neck and head get a heavy dose of radiation, it becomes impossible to swallow. I was told that Dr. Cutto, who was supposed to put a probe in me, was Ronald Reagan's personal gastroenterologist. They must have told me that so I wouldn't have to worry. Before I was given the anesthesia, I told Dr. Cutto that I had recently talked to Nancy Reagan about it. The doctor was surprised to ask what she had told me. I promised to tell him everything when I woke up from anesthesia. Actually, the feeding tube wasn't such an uncomfortable thing. It came out of my mid-belly, and the hose was wrapped around my waist like a cowboy lasso and attached to my skin with Velcro. I looked so much like a cowboy that I thought about asking the nursing staff for a huge cowboy hat. But instead of a hat, they gave me a huge syringe without a needle or stopper. 6 times a day I unwrapped the lasso, attached a syringe to the end of it, in which was poured a jar of a swall called Boost Plus. I tasted it once and was glad I didn't have to drink it. Curiously, when I rinsed the hose out with a glass of water after this procedure, my mouth and throat would get wet. At last there was light at the end of the tunnel. I was diagnosed in June 2007, and in October of that year they announced that I no longer had cancer. During that time, my relationship with God and my family has grown closer, and I have a better understanding of what is important in life and what is not. I still thank God every day for my recovery and try my best to help cancer patients. By the way, Dr. Cattell got back at me for making a joke about Nancy Reagan. He pulled the feeding tube out of me with force, even though he said it wouldn't hurt at all.